This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome,
Okay,
Sophia Zieger. It's over to you now.
thank you, Yanis. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for you guys attending the meeting. I'm super excited and a little bit nervous, to be honest, as I haven't really talked about this topic yet. Um, but it's been a while that I'm focusing on this topic personally myself, because it's like, for me, it's super interesting, and I want to share some excitement with you, because even though the question seems quite hard, actually, it's super insightful to deal with this question. What is purpose? Is this measurable? And before we dive deep into it, I want to introduce myself shortly. My name is Sophia, and I'm based in Dresden, Germany, working for a company called Staffbase. It's a software company. And my passion is all about communication, especially internal communication. Janis just mentioned it. We know each other from Manchester, where actually I used to be an internal communicator back then. Now I switched positions and consulting companies when it comes to internal communication platforms and formats. And I think we all live together because we need to communicate, and communication is very important, and also with this topic. And Bart, you just mentioned it's all about measurement and as well. And I wondered when Janos and me talked about okay, let's what could be the next topic we should actually address to people. What is the passion? I wondered whether purpose is measurable. And I think before you ask this question, you need to ask yourself, what actually is purpose? And I think this question can be answered in a very, personal way, but also in a very wide way. I think I would skip this question to start with an open discussion here, because I think we should have that at the end. But I think, nevertheless, I want to give you some ideas. Okay, from which perspectives can you actually look at this topic? And we all are driven by a certain purpose. Some of us know the purpose exactly, some of us don't, but they have it in their mind, like, because there's always a question, okay, why I'm here? And it's from the personal view, there are also different perspectives as well. And the one is as an individual, so actually, yeah, why are you here? And it's like kind of an uncomfortable question, because it like forces you to get in touch with yourself. And then there's another view for you as an employee. Why are you here with this company? And maybe you ask yourself questions like, okay, how do I picture the world when I'm old? And what is my impact to the world? So this is like more the individual case. And if you look for the purpose perspective as an employee, you would ask yourself maybe why I'm getting up in the morning. And like personally, when I get up in the morning, I always ask me this question: is it worth getting up today? And why actually should I get up? Is it because I want to earn money, which of course we all like to do? But actually, this is not the inner, the inner motivation. There's always something on top of it, like a real thing, a real purpose, and which I'm actually happy about to have it, and that makes me willing to spend time with the company. And as we talk about is purpose measurable from the company perspective, this brings me to another point, or another perspective actually, because also the company perspective is quite important to address this topic in depth. And this is from two sides addressable. One is the customer perspective. So actually, how do your customers see the company? What do they think about your company? And what does the society think about your company? So what actually has the society, or what's the picture the society has, what the purpose of your company actually is? And this is, or there can come up some questions like, okay, why is this company actually founded? Why are we here? For what reason are we here? And from the society perspective down there, it's more like, how does the company influences the future? And if you look at all those four things, you kind of see they are connected. Because when I ask myself, what is my personal impact to this world, right? You would actually choose different vendors or different companies you like to buy stuff from because they kind of match your personal values. And it seems like those four perspectives are like kind of spreaded and not really together, but this is definitely not the case because they all are very, very much connected to each other. So let's start from the perspective of an individual person. You look for a job and you have certain values with you. Like for instance, I really care about the environment. And I don't have a car because I think it's just like better for my future to ride the bike, but I don't want to discuss the personal opinions here. Everybody does what they like to do. But for instance, I care for a job or for a company who certainly has the same, values. And I, for myself, wouldn't really like to work for an airline just because of my personal values. And therefore, I also check as an employee, do the values of the company match my individual values? And also, if you look for like customers, if you see that the customer has kind of an identification with the values of the company, they are willing to spend maybe more money. And this money actually they like to spend because they see there is an added value which kind of reflects my personal values and my personal purposes as well. They are willing maybe to spend extra money for it, and this extra money becomes part of the whole system. And if the money which is spent in an extra way because the values of the company matches the values of the customer, then actually this money can be brought back to the society. And as we see, this becomes a whole huge system which influences each other. And I've brought some examples, some company examples, which kind of underline why is it important to have a value as a company and also to share this value with you as an individual person, with you as an employee, and also with the customers and the society, of course. Probably you know this company, Janis, because I think it's from Denmark, Too Good To Go, right? And
Yes.
as the name
Oh,
already
yes.
says,
It's quite
it
popular.
saves, right? It saves, or actually the purpose of the company is to save food, which usually get wasted by restaurants or by food chains or supermarkets. And the purpose of this company is quite clear. And people who say, I don't care about if food gets wasted, are probably not really open to this company, don't really have it on their radar. And people who care about it and who have the purpose that the world becomes a better place, they are open-minded for those kind of companies. And I think this is a good example how personal values and the value of a company, which is announced to their customers, matches together. Same as the company Einhorn. I don't know if people from non-Germans know this company. This is actually a startup which produces condoms. I think all the employees don't work for this company because they care so much about this product, but they like to make sure also that like lady products get affordable for all women and all over the world, and the tax decreases happens in certain countries. And they have a clear purpose, and the employees know why they are working for this company, and they know the purpose of the company, what they like to improve in the future, and how the company could actually influence the world in a certain way. And it's not only startups who have like a clear purpose and who are having a very clear inner motivation, but also the huge enterprise companies, for example, Mercedes-Benz. And I was super surprised because at the beginning when I started, getting deeper into this topic, I actually believe that it's more like the startup world who drives for inner motivation and for clear purposes. When I read about Mercedes-Benz, I got the information that they actually had many workshops, many interviews with their employees, like about 20,000 interviews with their employees. And they ask them, okay, what is your personal purpose? Why are you here? Why do you want to work for us? And what do you like to improve here? And it came out that they actually care about the future in an environmental perspective, of course. And they said, okay, obviously it is super important for our employees, for us as an individual, and also for the society. We need to check our supply chain and to make it cleaner and greener. And we have the purpose first move the world on the one hand, but also if you want to move the world, we shouldn't have an impact on their or we shouldn't destroy it, right? And because they say, okay, we don't want to destroy the world, even if we want to move the world, they came up with a purpose. We want to move the world in a green and healthy way. And also here at Staffbase, we have a clear purpose, and our CEO does get tired of communicating it. And I think it's super important that it's not only that we write a paper, okay, this is our purpose, and you pin it on the wall and that's it, but it's more like that you have kind of an awareness all the time. Why are we here? And it's super interesting that also customers actually say, we care for companies who act responsibly, for having actually a mission here on the world. And 76% of the Germans say, I would not work for a company which doesn't match my personal values and purposes. And also Germans consider it as important for employers to announce and to communicate a clear purpose and philosophy. Because this brings us to the first question which we had at the beginning. We want to know why we're getting up in the morning. And creating values and actually creating a mission statement is important. And a clear purpose sets a direction. And it's like, for me, I think it's the basis for a strategy. But on the other hand, we see, or when I visited companies and for my former employers, there were all the time the blank and meaningless mission statements. Okay, we want to make our customer happy. We want to, act nice to each other. But this is not a purpose. This is like a polite way of, communicating and a polite way of behavior. But I think a clear mission statement, as I said, sets the direction. And it's kind of hard to do that as a company, especially when you have to or not to check, but to look at those 4 different perspectives. So the question is actually how to do it, right? And I think it's all about communication, and especially it's all about internal communication when we look from our employees' perspective. And I thought, okay, what could actually be a good format to discuss about purposes and how to actually address it to employees. And I brainstormed a little, and I think it's not the 1st January, which is the day when a clear purpose should be communicated. And it's not only the role of or the task of the CEO or like the company to say, okay, this is the purpose and to live the purposes. It's it's all our tasks to do that. Like it's the CEO has a one-on-one conversation with one employee, but it's also myself who is having a one-on-one conversation with my colleague and checking whether we are doing right and good in our purposes and to act in relation to our purposes. And it's about, for example, also having surveys. Here at Staffbase, we have once a month a survey where we as an employee can say, do we still work towards our purposes? Does it still match, or is there something we should adjust? And it's not the CEO or the management who says, oh, this is our purpose. Yeah, let's live for that. it's more like also from the bottom up, and to have like workshops and to say, okay, what are we actually aiming for, or to have like an anonymous letterbox and saying, okay, actually I really care about this and this. Can we actually do something about it? Like I also had, or we also had the situation that a colleague of mine asked whether we can, or why do we travel so much? Is there another way we actually can reduce the footprint here? And now we're actually discussing whether we should, you know, submit some money to a funding which cares about like the air or the air pollution. And I think this is also kind of important for like newbies and for people who like to work at a certain company, because we all see like the web pages which has a clear mission and vision and what we are here for. But the interesting part is this actually true? Is this like the real thing, or is it just like a nice commercial advertising language, which is not really what we believe in? And I don't want to go too deep into all those different bubbles. I think there are a lot of many ideas how to communicate purposes. As I said, it's like they're all connected to each other. And I truly believe that everybody has to be part of it. It's everybody's responsibility, not only like living the purposes and values, but also like creating them and being part of it. Otherwise, I think there's no way to ensure that your personal values matches the company values. On the other hand, it's your own responsibility to get to know your personal values. Why are you here? Are you really happy what you're doing? And to combine everybody, I think it's like good to have like one communication platform at the end. And those can be like, again, has different or actually many formats. Coming back to the real question, do you think purpose is measurable? I truly believe it is. It has many phases and many varieties how it can be measured. Of course, it can be measured in the rating of how the rating of an employer. Are you a good employer? Are you not a good employer? Because I think people tend to have a good relation to their employer if they actually see my personal values are met and my opinion is asked for. And also the employee turnover rate is kind of, I think, an indicator whether this is actually a company which matches my purposes and values. What I think is a really interesting fact is the understanding of a strategy, because as I said at the beginning, the purpose and the values is the ground for setting up a strategy. And if I understand what this company is here for, I usually also understand the strategy. Same as like customer ratings or the net promoter score. If I believe that a company where I'm buying my products from has a good value, I'm willing to spend more money. Janice and I, we just had a discussion about what's happening during Corona times and whether we actually need to go to Amazon just because all the local stores are shut down at the moment. We both agreed that this is not the best option for us, but only for the two of us. Everybody has their own opinion about it. But this kind of brings us back to the whole question of values. Does Amazon actually matches our personal values in many ways or not? And I think everybody has to make their own decision. There is no right and there is no wrong. And I don't want to, say, okay, this is the only way you should act or you shouldn't act. I think it's good to take some time at the moment and to lay back and to say, okay, whether I'm willing to kind of go deeper into this topic and to go, face the question actually, what is good value, why I'm here. And Janice actually knows already that I like to close my talks with a little book recommendation, and here it is. For those who haven't read this tiny book, the Big Five for Life is I think a great entry for this topic overall, and to get to know yourself a little better, and especially your personal values and why you're here. I know this has been a very philosophical talk, and maybe you expect a little bit more hard facts, but I think this topic is so wide and so soft. It's kind of hard to dig it deep into, like, okay, this is numbers, numbers, numbers.
That's great, Sophia. Thank you very much for preparing all of this, and yeah, thank you for making us think a little harder about some of the big questions.
You're very welcome.
So we have already the first question from the UK, Henry France from Distinction. Henry, would you mind just jumping in, saying hi?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that. That was excellent, Sophia. Really, really interesting. Just as a company that has been through a couple of repurposing missions over the last 2 or 3 years, and it it takes so much longer than you ever think it's going to. Just countless workshops and sorry, my camera's
Perfect.
there. I can hopefully see you. Um,
No problem. We can hear you well, though.
but
Yes.
just yeah, that's fine. It's better for you this way. So
Absolutely
I
not.
guess my question was more around how you see maybe different generations that, and particularly the one coming into the workforce at the moment, and how much more emphasis that they place on value and purpose behind brands that they shop from or interact with. And I wondered if you see that reaching a tipping point where that you can no longer ignore it.
Yeah, I totally see there's a tipping point that you can't ignore it. And I totally believe in that, facing the question, asking the question is a totally luxury question. If you are, in a situation where it's all about earning money and to suffer and to give like your food to the kids, and you don't know how to survive the next month, then you don't care about your values. You only care about your personal situation and to live a good life, right? So this is like the first thing. It's a luxury question, and it's also a generation question. I see that the younger generation, maybe starting from my generation, is more focused on this kind of questions. They care more about the future. Maybe they are kind of anxious about the future because there's so much changing. The world changes a lot faster than it used to do in the past. So, for instance, if I talk to my parents about purposes and asking my dad, okay, so why are you going every day to work? And he said, I don't know. It's just like because I have to, I gotta earn money. And he's like 60 something. And I said, he's a truck driver or train driver. So maybe to give you some perspectives here. And I said, no, Dad, you're not going to work because you need to earn money. You're going to work because your train has products on the train which is needed by so many people. And you are having an impact on the society. And you make sure that I have a yogurt in the supermarket because you drive the train to make that possible. And when I told him that, I could really see his eyes shining and say, okay, actually, this is why I'm here for. And I think we all aim for something we are here for. But it's like, I think I totally agree with you. It's a generation thing that we ask this question.
Thank you.
Does
Very
this
good.
answer your question?
I don't know if I had a proper question in there. Just it feels like it's something that gets ignored easily because it's difficult to answer. But it's getting to that point where the vast majority of the audience is not there yet, obviously, but vast majority of consumers might care as much about that as the actual product that you provide.
Maybe it's also because, or maybe this is the trend by startups having usually a clear purpose, or maybe it's more obvious that they have a clear purpose because maybe they are founded by younger people who care
Yeah.
about it. And then especially like all the huge enterprise companies who are not really family owned, they are like also hired by this company as a CEO. They are usually in an older generation where this topic is not like the most or the first priority.
I
Yeah,
was
I
just
definitely
thinking
agree with that.
here at the end, perhaps I can ping Mark. I see you there from your Hamburg studio. I know you have also put a lot of thinking into purpose, and you hosted us recently on going virtual first. But would you mind sharing a sentence or two on your thinking around having a clear purpose, Mark?
Oh, sure. By the way, I'm 46, which is important in terms of a generation discussion. I don't think it's a generation discussion. So
So
everybody
you're
plays
so
right
you're
now.
part of the solution, is what you're trying to say.
For me, actually, so I'm working for Dropbox. When I joined Dropbox, or before I joined Dropbox, I was looking for an employer that actually has one thing, giving me a purpose, and as a
Okay.
second thing, match my values. And that's what so I didn't look for some kind of job or some kind of company. I looked for values and purpose when searching for a job. And that was tough because Sophia, just as you said, like a lot of the larger companies and older companies, they don't really state this very clearly on places that you can find easily. But then when you go to like those portals like Kununu, where employees actually rate their companies, you will find out very easily.
Yeah.
That's how I did it. So
Yes.
I think it's super important, and I don't see this as a generation thing. It's like nobody should work without a purpose.
I totally agree with you, and I think the purpose drive us even to, you know, doing more, doing more of what we love, and then we don't care about actually an overhour or anything else. Of course, we know why we are doing it, and I think also for companies, it has a benefit to have a clear purpose. The challenge is not to have like a fake purpose, but a real purpose. And I think this is like the biggest challenge companies face nowadays.
Great. I would say on that note, and in the interest of time, thank you very much, Sophia.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure having you guys. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you.
Take time for a little book read and to take care of yourself, stay healthy, and see you next year, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you for doing it, Sophia. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Always pleasure.